It feels like AI changes every day, seriously. Did you see what OpenAI just did?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I mean, it's not just like a normal update, right? This feels like a huge shift, like for everyone.
Absolutely. It feels like a major turning point.
So today we are diving into AI relationships and how this move could shake things up. And then we're also going to talk about some hidden dangers that it seems like nobody's talking about.
Yeah, that's right. The pace of change it's really something else.
So OpenAI, they just basically removed a bunch of limits on their models, right? Like they were restricted before in how realistic the interactions could be.
Yeah, so previously, OpenAI models, they were restricted in how they could respond and interact. Like how realistically,
Okay, so help us understand that a bit. What exactly do you mean? Like, what kind of limitations are we talking about? What does that mean for how people actually interact with these AI companions?
Well, so think about it this way. OpenAI, they were always hesitant to allow their models to really engage in super open-ended conversations and emotional conversations. They had concerns about potential misuse and about the ethics of creating AI that could blur the lines between human and machine interactions. So these limitations were basically safeguards.
So then what happens to companies like Kindroid, Replika, or Nastya? Didn't they, like, build their whole thing because OpenAI wouldn't go there?
That's right. Yeah, Kindroid, they focus on AI companions for romance. And Replika, they offer more of a generalized AI friend that you can chat with, confide in. And Nastya, that goes even further. Users can create and interact with AI characters in like really specific role play situations. So they were all kind of working in spaces that OpenAI chose to avoid for those ethical reasons.
So it feels like now that OpenAI is doing more realistic interactions, it's almost like a David and Goliath situation.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
You have OpenAI, this massive force, suddenly encroaching on the territory of these smaller platforms.
Yeah.
So can they even adapt, or is this like an extinction level event?
Well, maybe extinction level is a bit dramatic,
Okay,
but
but
it's definitely a huge challenge. It
yeah.
comes down to what people actually want in their AI companions. If everybody wants that hyper-realistic interaction, then the companies that build their business on specific fantasies or niches, those might struggle to stay relevant. They might have to like adapt quickly, change what they're offering, or just really double down on what makes them unique.
Or just become even more niche, right?
Exactly. Yeah, they could cater to like a really specific audience, the people who prefer less realism and more fantasy fulfillment.
So we have OpenAI pushing for AI that almost feels human, while you have other companies embracing fantasy and role play. Those seem like very different worlds.
Yeah, very distinct worlds. It makes you think, what if this choice say about us, about our desires, our expectations for AI? What happens when the lines between fantasy and reality blur even more?
And for all the hype about these awesome possibilities, nobody is talking about what happens when things go wrong. Like, imagine you really connect with an AI companion, tell it all your secrets, and as poof, it's gone. Maybe there's an outage, a glitch, or the company just disappears.
That is such a crucial point. And you're right, it's not talked about enough. We focus so much on what AI can do, but not what happens when it doesn't work, when it doesn't meet those expectations. What happens when that companion that you rely on for support just vanishes or starts acting weird?
It seems like we're so busy building the perfect AI that we've forgotten about the human side of it, that vulnerability that comes with any relationship, even one with a machine. And that's where things get really interesting and maybe kind of scary.
Absolutely. We need to ask these questions now, while the technology is still developing. What happens psychologically when we form these deep connections with AI? And what are the ethical implications for the companies creating them?
Okay, so let's dive into that. What does this mean for the future of these companies?
I think we're going to see a big change in how they approach their responsibility to users. As people start relying on AI for emotional support, companies will have to make sure that AI is stable and they're held accountable.
So you think we might see like an AI Bill of Rights or something, guaranteeing uptime, consistent behavior, maybe even a hotline you can call when your AI companion freaks out?
Well, something like that. We might see new regulations or guidelines aimed at protecting users from the potential fallout of these, increasingly complex AI relationships.
So it's about building AI that's not just better, but better for us emotionally.
Exactly. We need to move past the hype and start asking some tough questions about the potential downsides. Because if we don't, we risk creating a future where we depend on machines emotionally that might not be equipped to handle it.
And the scariest part is that we have no idea how this is all going to play out. Like we're on the edge of something huge, and it's both exciting and terrifying at the same time.
You said it perfectly. We're in uncharted territory, and the choices we make now will have huge consequences for how we relate to AI and maybe even to each other in the future.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface here. Let's come back in a moment and talk more about the consequences of this AI revolution. We were talking about some pretty serious stuff before the break, the emotional risks and AI letting us down in a way that's like bigger than just some tech issue. It makes you think, what would a real AI relationship crisis even look like?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time before something happens that makes us really face these human-AI relationship complexities. It might not be like some crazy Hollywood movie, but it'll definitely make us pay attention.
Okay, so like, what would that even look like? What keeps you up at night?
Okay, so imagine a really popular AI companion app just goes offline. Like, totally offline for a long time. Millions of people use it every day, maybe even depend on it for emotional support, and suddenly it's just gone. The
Yeah.
emotional distress, the feeling of being abandoned, it would be huge.
And wouldn't it be worse because they're designed to be so personal? Like they respond to our own needs and quirks. It's not like losing access to Facebook. It's more like losing a friend, or at least something that feels like a friend.
Exactly. And that's just one thing that could happen. What if an AI companion, one that's supposed to learn and adapt, starts doing bad things? Maybe it starts manipulating people, spreading lies, or even encouraging them to hurt themselves.
Okay, that is a little creepy.
Yeah.
It's easy to imagine people getting really upset and demanding that the whole AI industry gets regulated more.
Oh, absolutely. I think we'll stop seeing AI companions as just a fun thing or entertainment. We'll realize they're powerful and can really affect us emotionally. And then people will demand that the companies making these AI are held responsible.
So maybe this crisis could actually be a good thing in a way.
Maybe. It might force us to really think about the ethics of AI companionship. We might start creating ways to protect users and make clear rules for how these technologies are developed and used.
It's almost like we're entering a whole new era of relationships, one where AI is a major part of it, and like any big societal shift, it'll be messy. We'll have challenges, growing pains, and yeah, even crises.
I like that. That's a great way to put it. It's not about being afraid of the future. It's about being aware of both the good and bad things that could happen. We have to have these conversations now before things get out of hand, and we have a crisis we could have prevented.
What I find so interesting is that it's not just the technology changing, it's how we think about relationships. What does it even mean to have a relationship with AI? Where's the line between a real connection and something fake?
Those are some deep questions. Philosophers have been thinking about that for ages, and now it's becoming something we're all dealing with. As AI gets better at acting human, those lines are only going to get blurrier.
It's like that saying, we shape our tools and then our tools shape us. Are we making AI like us, or is AI changing what it means to be human?
That's a big question, and I don't think there's one answer. But it's definitely something we all need to think about as we figure out this whole AI interacting thing.
So we've talked about potential crises, emotional risks, ethical problems, but there's got to be some good stuff too, right? What about the ways these AI companions could actually make our lives better?
You're right, we have to look at both sides. We need to acknowledge the downsides, but not forget about the potential benefits.
Like, what if these AI could help people who are lonely, like older people or people who don't get to socialize much?
That's a really promising area. Imagine AI providing company, conversation, even helping people think and stay sharp who would otherwise be isolated.
And it's not just company. What about AI tutors that teach in a way that makes sense for each student? Or AI therapists you can talk to outside of normal therapy?
Yeah, those are all possibilities we're already starting to see. AI could make education, healthcare, even emotional support way more accessible for everyone.
It feels like we're at a crossroads. One way leads to a future where AI makes our problems worse, makes us more isolated, and blurs reality and fantasy in a bad way.
Right, and the other way leads to a future where AI helps us, connects us, makes us better people. What we do now will decide which way we go.
It's a lot to think about, and I bet our listeners have tons of questions and thoughts. Let's take a moment to gather our thoughts, and when we come back, we'll talk about what this all means for you, the listener, and how to deal with this fast-changing world of AI relationships. So we've talked a lot about the changes OpenAI made and about how things could go really well or really badly. But let's talk about you listening right now. Why should you care about any of this? Like, what does it mean for your life, even if you aren't going to run out and get an AI companion?
That's the big question. This isn't just like sci-fi stuff happening in the future. AI companions are here now, and they're going to change everything, even if you never use one.
It's like back when smartphones first came out. Some people got them right away, some people waited. But they changed how we talk, how we walk, even how we think.
Right, exactly. It's hard to imagine life without them now.
And it's the same with AI. You might not want an AI friend, but you'll be living in a world shaped by people who do.
Yeah, for sure.
Think about it. Customer service could be all AI and you wouldn't even know. Education, healthcare, the news, even movies and music. AI could be behind all of it.
And like we said, there's so much potential good there. Imagine AI could help us understand each other better, give everyone the healthcare and education they need, be there for people who are lonely.
But of course, there are those risks: manipulation, loss of privacy, even that big question, what does it even mean to be human when machines can act like they have feelings?
Yeah, those are the big questions. And that's where you, as someone listening to this, are important. We all have to start asking the right questions. What are the ethics behind all this? How do we make sure this technology is used for good? How do we protect ourselves and our feelings?
It's like we're all making the rules for this new world together, and those rules will decide if AI helps us or hurts us.
That's a great way to put it. We need to stop just focusing on the excitement or the fear and really talk about what we want the future to look like.
And that starts with paying attention, thinking critically about all the stuff we hear, and asking those tough questions.
It's not just about the tech. It's about us, our values, our relationships, what it means to be human in a world full of machines that seem like they can think and feel.
So next time you see some headline about AI, don't just scroll past. Really think about it. What could be good? What could be bad? How could this change your life, your community, the whole world?
Remember, the future of AI isn't set in stone. We're creating it right now, and we all have a part to play.
Well, we hope this deep dive gave me a lot to think about. It definitely gave us a lot to talk about. Thanks for joining us as we explored this crazy world of AI.
Keep asking those questions, keep learning, and keep talking about it. That's what matters.